Hi, my name is Nick Weir, and I work for Royal Caribbean, and behind me is our new baby, the Quantum of the Seas. I say it's ours, it's not really ours yet. In fact, we're 1 week away from delivery. It's the 24th of October. The company that owns the ship is the company that built the ship at the moment, Weir. And you'll see something quite interesting if I just poke this camera over the edge. You'll see that's rather spectacular because there's no water. And that's because the ship is not floating, we are in a dry dock. And the reason for that is because Weir, the company that built the ship, are crazy about perfectionism. And before they finally sort of sold it to us, they wanted to have one last look around the hull to make sure that everything's where it should be. Now, the great thing is this is a very rare opportunity. It's not normally the case. Normally these ships don't become dry for about 5 years after they're built. But tonight, I have an opportunity to bring this motley group of people. This is our film crew on Quantum of the Seas, and we're going to go into the dry dock and have a look around. You ready?
Ready.
What's your name?
Roger.
Roger is number one. Here we go. Right, so the draft of Quantum of the Seas is 8.5 meters, which is about, keep going guys, you're doing good, 28 feet. So 28 feet of the ship is under the water, which means we're probably down now about 50 feet so that we're actually fitting inside the dry dock. And right here behind me, you want to back up and get a nice wide shot of this. That's the stern of the Quantum of the Seas, and as you can see, the two main features that we're going to discuss first are these two AziPod drives. Let's walk and talk. This is a test of a good TV host, walking and talking. So, traditional shipbuilding had propellers at the end of long shafts, where the engine was inside the ship, driving a shaft, at the end of the shaft, big propeller. Not anymore. Now, we have these magnificent creatures called AziPod drives, and if you come right around here, you'll see this is a 18-foot in diameter, I think it's about 6-ton bronze windmill. So the idea, in fact I'm going to keep walking you around, hope you don't get dizzy, is that inside this large bulb is an electric motor. So all our power is created in the engine room. It's basically a great big power plant. The power is sent to the electric motor inside this bulb, which then drives the propeller. And as you'll notice, the propeller is actually at the front end of the AziPod, and that's because these AziPod drives are tractor drives, so they actually pull the ship through the water. Hi.
Excuse me.
Yes.
It might be possible that this blade will turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you.
What's that?
The blade might turn.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to continue this piece quite quickly, as you can tell from him telling me that this propeller could turn. Anyway, let's back up a little bit. You're probably wondering how powerful these are. They are 20.5 megawatts, which if you are horsepower minded is about 28,000 horsepower. And there's two of them. 28 times 2, 56,000 horsepower, and that's a lot of juice. So another interesting fact, I'm sure you're all wondering, is how fast does this windmill of bronze turn? Well, to get our maximum speed, which is 22 knots, I believe, and this is not a checked fact, it's about 120 revolutions per minute. So that's twice a second. That's a lot of bronze, 6 tons I think I said, 6 tons, 18 feet in diameter, rotating twice a second. So let me give you the principles of azimuth drive 101. There's no rudder. Actually, the entire propeller unit rotates. So if you can imagine, the thrust is being thrown in that direction, but the captain, whenever he wants, in any direction, can rotate the entire pod unit. And by doing that, he's directing the thrust in different directions, and that causes the ship to steer. Pretty simple. Get careful, get out of the way, Jake. You've got a crane coming here. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, keep filming. This is real action. So when we're making this up as we go along too. So Jake, be careful of this crane. We're now moving forwards on the port side of the ship, and I'm going to point out things as we go and explain them to the best of my ability. So apologies to our chief engineer and our captain if I'm getting any of these facts a little bit wrong, but it's all meant really just to enlighten our guests and our crew members in what this ship looks like underneath. As I said earlier on, very rare experience. So over here, first of all, you can see water is gushing out. The reason for that is because we are still an operating resort. We still have thousands of people on board, and we have to have air conditioning, we have to have power, we have to cook food. So we are creating energy on board, and that is cooling water coming out of the ship. We obviously use cooling water to cool all of our generating systems on board in the engine room, and that's the sort of the exit of that water. Actually, that's quite interesting. Those two gentlemen there, I don't know if you can get a close-up, but they are working on something called the sea chest, and that's basically a water intake. So at the moment we're using a pipe to put water into the engine room to cool the engines, and it's falling out there. But in operation, the water from the ocean, from the sea, will be sucked in through those sea chests. And actually that's one of the reasons we're in the dry dock. They had a little design issue they weren't happy with. It was making a few vibrations. So today they've whipped out the old ones and put in some new ones. Actually, you can see that they are not the original part because they haven't been painted in the blue silicon paint yet. In fact, there's some more up there now. So another thing that's kind of an advantage to this unexpected dry dock is a bit of a clean. So the ship has actually been in the water now for a couple of months. When we floated her out of the shipyard where we built her, we kept her in the River Ems for a while and in the harbour area at Weir where they build the ships. And consequently, over a couple of months, the hull does get a little bit dirty, and these gentlemen are now cleaning it. Let's have a look. Not too dirty, and it shouldn't be, and I'll tell you why. Because that paint is super high technology paint, actually made of silicon. And I believe 2 coats of that good stuff, which is what the ship has, is about a $2 million price tag. Okay, to camera. So, as I mentioned a few moments ago, we're making this up as we go along, and this gentleman here has very kindly allowed me to get in his crane, and we're going to go up and have a little look at the stabilizers. Your name? Your name?
Arongo.
I'm Nick. Arongo. Arongo.
Yeah.
Arongo. Say hello. Say hello to everybody. Arongo.
Hello.
Okay. Get back to the crane. Get back to the crane. Take me up there. Thank you very much. Do your job. Right. So we're going to go up and have a look at a very important piece of engineering. It's called the stabilizing system. We're going to look at the port side stabilizer, and this is something that helps us all stay beautifully comfortable on board Quantum of the Seas as we skim across the world's oceans. Here we go. A little bit of a swing there. Oh, and another one. Random thoughts are coming into my head as me and Orongo make our journey together. And one of these thoughts is that I've been in show business all my life, and this is the weirdest show I've ever done. This seemed like a good idea. I'll give you some interesting shots. This is another view of me taking forever to get to the stabilizer. Okay, so we're now heading up towards the orifice. Oh, the door's open. The orifice that contains the stabilizer. Now, what is a stabilizer? A stabilizer is essentially a wing, a bit like on an aircraft. And the way it works is when the ship rolls a little bit in the ocean due to normal wave action, this gizmo here rotates a little bit, creates a little bit of lift in the opposite direction to the roll, and stabilizes the ship, throws it back on an even keel. It's very large. It's actually retracted. I would love it if they bring it out, but I think that might be pushing my luck. But that's where it sits. When we come alongside, obviously the captain needs the stabilizer in so that it's flush to the side of the ship. But as soon as we get out into the open ocean, and as soon as the captain feels like it's time to make you super comfortable, he winds this baby out, and we're going to hit the hull? No, we're not. It's a $2 million paint job. I don't want to hurt it. So there it is. So in here is a huge hydraulic ram behind this wall, and it thrusts the stabilizer wing out, and then it rotates, and that's what adjusts the level of lift, which corrects the ship's ride height. That's great, huh? That's great. Say goodbye to our guests and our crew members, because that was a great opportunity. Thank you very much. See you next time. Yeah, bye. Thank you. I think he likes show business. Okay. This is a bilge keel. All that does is, every little bit helps to stabilize the ship. So that just adds a little bit more resistance to roll. In fact, that's an interesting sight there. If you look in there now, you can actually see right the way through the ship's hull. Come back out here a little bit. Just a bit further back. I don't know if you can see from here. Come around, just going to manhandle you. Do you see that? There's a shot you don't see very often. I've had a completely random idea. I think we should test our metal, gentlemen. Let's go directly underneath the entire ship. Here we go. Oh, careful. There's a hole there. So there we are. The entire ship is above my and the entire camera crew's heads. And as I mentioned earlier on, it's surprisingly clean, so it should be a quick job to clean it up. Now, what I really want to show you now, because we're underneath the hull, it's a little bit further forward, but it's a really new piece of technology. It's super cool. I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. It's our air cushion lubrication system, and I think it's this way. Here we go. Where is it, boys? Where is the system? Where is the air lubrication system? Aha! I found it. Okay, guys, you want to gather around and I'll see what I can do about this. So get a nice shot looking up at this very interesting stainless steel grill. This is a brand new piece of technology. Quatum of the Seas will be the first cruise ship in the world to do it, and it's very cool. Essentially, this is a great big venting device that on the other end, somewhere inside here, is a huge compressor, and while we're running at sea, at speed, we're going to turn these huge compressors on, and bubbles of air are going to be forced out of these vents and onto the surface of the hull. And there's this system here, there's another one further forward, which we'll have a look at. But the idea is brilliant. Essentially, the ship will be, rather than gliding on water as it proceeds through the ocean, it will in fact be gliding on a tiny cushion of air. So between the ship's hull and the ocean, a tiny bead of compressed air that bubbles its way up underneath the hull and out into the atmosphere above. And that is an incredibly efficient way to cut through water. We're still studying it. We are pioneers of this technology, but it's really all about efficiency. It helps us be green. Anything that allows the ship to cut through the water easily is good for us. It's good for speed. It's good for stability. It's good for the environment. So once again, there are incredibly intelligent people listening to this, and some of my facts may not be 100%, but the essence of what I'm saying is true, and I really wanted you to hear about it. Here's another array of air bubble dispensers. Once again, it's kind of designed so that the cushion of air filters out right across the shoulders of the ship. This part here, I'm going to turn you around, I don't know if you can see it, but this is the area that's considered to be the shoulders of the hull, and this is where the maximum resistance to our penetration through the water occurs, and that's why the air cushion system is here, because that's where we really want to try to cut down friction to allow us to go through the water more efficiently. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie. This next piece of technology I'm going to show you is my favorite, because here we have one of our bow thrusters, and we actually have an array of 4 bow thrusters. And if you take a little close look at that, it's pretty simple what it is. It's a propeller, but instead of being at the back of the ship pushing the ship forward, this propeller is mounted laterally, and it thrusts the bow of the ship left and right, port and starboard. This is such a cool piece of equipment for helping the captain maneuver the ship, because he can essentially point the bow in any direction he wants. Each one of these on Quatum of the Seas is 4,750 horsepower. That is just under 20,000 horsepower, right? It's 19,000 horsepower. 19,000 horsepower on our bow thrusters. That's more power than most ships in the world have as propulsion. Woo! I'm like a ballerina. And that is the famous bulbous bow, which is simply a very special piece of naval architecture that somebody discovered a few years ago. Makes the ship go faster through the water. For some reason you would think that a sharp V would do it, but actually a very large bulbous ball helps us cut through the water more efficiently. Okay, so once again we're testing my hosting skills because we're walking and talking. You try it, it's not easy, especially with lots of holes in the floor. Okay, so there it is, the Quantum of the Seas. Actually this side is even more nicely lit. Actually, I should just mention this, directly above my head, that's the anchor. That's probably the oldest piece of technology on board. That's many thousands of years old, because obviously the ancient mariners realized if they could sling something over the side of the ship that was heavy enough to stop it, it might be a good idea. So that's what they've done with that. This might be worth pointing out because actually I've been on the pier occasionally when guests and even our crew members have asked, why is there a large word saying tug on the side of a beautiful cruise ship? It's obviously not a tug. You can see it right there. That word tug and the arrow actually helps tugboat drivers, which we occasionally use to help us get in and out of port. That's where they should be lined up to apply pressure to the hull because it's specially reinforced to take many, many thousands of horsepower, giving the ship a bit of a push. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how privileged I feel down here, the entire team, to have seen our beautiful new lady, the Quantum of the Seas, so close up and so intimately. And she's brand new. We wouldn't normally see this for 5 years. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about what ships look like below the waterline. I'm going for a cup of tea, it's getting cold.